Chapter 806. His physical body becomes that of a paragon. The barren lands of divine essence were in the shape of a gourd. The mouth of the gourd was where the main camp of the forces of power from the four great true worlds that were keeping a lookout over the barren lands were located. This place was filled with a stern atmosphere and was usually shrouded in a deathly silence. Even the true guards from the four great true worlds were not allowed to take even a single step into this place unless they were summoned, and it was during the shift changes between the old and new true guards. All those who went against this rule would be considered to have committed a great crime and would be banished to sinful barren lands. Within the area of the main camp was a gigantic vortex. That vortex was constantly rotating, but it never made a sound. From the distance, the brilliant lights from the vortex would make it seem like an ocean of stars. However, if anyone looked from a close-up, then they would see that the things that formed this ocean of stars were planets. It was a gigantic vortex formed by countless stars. All those who saw this would not be able to help but be shocked by it. At that moment, there was a long arc charging towards the main arc from beyond the vortex. Once that long arc closed in, it turned into a young man with the mark of a peach blossom at the center of his brows. He had a respectful expression on his face once he stopped beyond the vortex and wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed. He remained in that position for a long time and did not straighten his back. Compared to this gigantic vortex, his existence was like that of an ant. He was completely insignificant. Time passed. Soon, several hours went by, but that young man still remained in that bowing position and did not move, nor did he say a word. He simply waited there quietly. Suddenly, the vortex started rotating a little faster before the speed of its rotation increased exponentially. A cultivation planet left its trajectory in the vortex and rushed to the periphery. A presence that could destroy the world charged towards the young man. Once that presence stopped before him, a cold and flat voice came languidly from that cultivator planet.
Come?
That voice might have only said one word, but it contained a supreme majesty, as if no one in the world could resist it. The young man with the mark of the peach blossom at the center of his brows straightened his back at that moment, then turned into a long arc to charge into the cultivation planet before him. After a moment, he stepped on that cultivation planet, and before him was a vast desert. He could vaguely see a towering hall in the distance. It was brownish-yellow in color and stood alone in the desert. There were whirlwinds roaring and moving around it, sweeping up the sand to form a windstorm. Nearly 100 figures could be seen standing in front of the hall in the desert. These figures were all cultivators. They were men and women, elderly and young. They were lying with their faces against the sand of the desert, slowly crawling forward. These people were dressed in rags, many parts of their clothes tattered, but their expressions were filled with a strange fanatical zeal as they slowly crawled towards the hall. The young man with the mark of the peach blossom at the center of his brows looked at the hall in the distance, then slowly crouched down until his body laid on the sand. Then, he began crawling forward, just like all the other people. It was silent all around him. Besides the moaning of the wind, there was no other sound. All the people on the ground crawling forward were filled with a strange air. However, even if the cultivator crawling right before all the others looked as if he had already gotten close to the hall, he still continued onward, as if he could not see it. It was as if the distance to the hall seemed different for each one of them. The young man with the mark of the peach blossom at the center of his brows continued crawling forward, and as he did so, his robes were torn, and they began showing signs of being burnt. His hair dried up, but there was a determined look in his eyes. After spending 2 hours, he finally crawled towards the hall he saw in his eyes while looking completely disheveled. Over there, he sucked in a deep breath. Once he stood up from the ground, he walked into the hall. It was empty. There was only a table there with an oil lamp. The flame on the wick was swaying slightly. A countless number of faces with bizarre smiles could be seen swapping places with each other in the flame. None of the faces would show up again, as if over the countless years in this endless passage of time, none of them had ever been the same. The crackling from the flames echoed in the hall. Besides the oil lamp on the table, there was also a bamboo book by its side. Half of it was laid open, and an ancient presence spread out from it as it lay under the light from the lamp. I, Dao Ren, 9th tier True Guard of True Sacred Yin World, greet Lord True General Huozhu. The young man knelt down on the ground and placed a hand on the asbestos on the floor before he lowered his head and spoke respectfully. Speak. An ancient and cold voice came from the flames on the wick of the oil lamp. At that moment, the faces on the oil lamp stopped changing, freezing on a woman's face with the ghost of a smile on her lips. We first discovered this person in Crimson Flame Planet. The young man did not dare lift his head. He had it bent down as he told everything that he knew about Mosu without holding anything back. This humble guard would like to search through the ancient scrolls of reincarnation and find this person's origins, then formulate a plan that would lure him out so that he would show himself before us on his own. His voice echoed in the hall. When the young man finished speaking, his voice still echoed in the area and lingered around for a long time. After some time, the woman's face in the flame on the wick opened her mouth, and her ancient and cold voice tumbled out from her lips. This person is not in the cycles of reincarnation. The young man was momentarily stunned, then his expression immediately changed. After a moment, he gritted his teeth and said in voice, "This humble guard is certain that this person is still in Western Ring Nebula, and is also certain that he has already fused with the Divinity Incarceration Rune with some unknown method. He can borrow the power of the rune, and he uses its power to warp himself and suppress others. This humble guard would like to request that you would lock down all the borders that would lead to the other galaxies in Western Ring Nebula, and shut down the Divinity Incarceration Rune. I will bestow upon you a wisp of the flame from the candle. You will burn your life to keep the flame burning. Fate will lead you to find this person. I will allow you to shut down the Divinity Incarceration Rune once, but the downtime cannot exceed 3 months." Once the ancient and cold voice finished speaking, the flames on the wick of the oil lamp swayed. At the same time, the young man with the mark of a peach blossom at the center of his brows started trembling violently. Flames immediately burned his body, and these flames started moving over him like flowing water, eventually gathering in his hair, making it dance and look as if it was flames flickering in the air. The mark of the peach blossom at the center of his brows also instantly vanished and turned into flames. Your body will be a candle, and your life will be its flames. You may leave now. The young man's body immediately began moving back against his will. He instantly turned into a ball of flames that swept out of the hall, out of the desert, and out of the planet. When he reappeared, he was already in the galaxy. Right before him was the rotating vortex. As for that cultivation planet, it was slowly moving backwards at that moment, until it disappeared into the vortex and became one of the many planets within it. He's not in the cycles of reincarnation, and he is a variable that was sent here using a special method. Wait, why can I sense this presence in the story? That accursed crane that should sink to the depths of the sea of misery for all eternity. That hateful crane that all people cannot help but want to kill millions of times until it is eternally damned. That damnable crane. Once the young man was swept out of the hall, a low roar that was no longer ancient and cold but filled with hate and madness rang out. As that roar echoed in the air, the oil lamp on the table in the hall let out a violent crackle. An endless amount of faces appeared instantly in the flames, and they swiftly spread out, filling the entire hall before going outwards. The flames filled the entire cultivation planet, beginning to burn it right away. Oi! Achoo! The bald crane was on a meteor charging forward through Western Ring Nebula. The bird was lying lazily with sparkling eyes. There was crystal in its claws and a pleased look on its face when it sneezed 3 times in a row. Well, damn it all. Someone must be talking about me. As a crane and as a bird, I have to keep a low profile. I must keep a low profile. I can't have anyone keeping me in their minds. Achoo! Before the bald crane could finish mumbling, it sneezed again. This time, it got angry. It stood up, and a fierce look appeared in its eyes as it looked around itself continuously. Damn you all, who's talking bad about me? I'll make you pay. As the bald crane was enraged, the Duke of Crimson Flame instinctively cast it a glance before quickly lowering his head and no longer bothering with it. The more he believed that the crane was the legendary crane, the more he did not dare associate with it. He remembered the series of rumors regarding that creature, and all the people that were associated with it did not end up well. The meteor sliced through the galaxy. As the Duke of Crimson Flame protected Su Ming and the bald crane raged, the fury of the flames on Su Ming's body reached its peak. The flames burned every single inch of his flesh and blood. It did not matter whether it was his skin or the organs within his body, Everything about him was being burned down. His body had already withered up. He looked like a dried-up piece of wood. Another half a month went by. Su Ming did not move. All his skin had become chapped. However, it looked as if there were no longer any flames on him. 7 days ago, the sea of fire on his body had all tumbled back and crawled into him. The presence of death became even thicker on Su Ming's body. One day, his chapped skin let out popping sounds. At this moment, the Duke of Crimson Flame looked towards him with a grave look. Even the bald crane's gaze landed on Su Ming. The chapped skin cracked once again, piece by piece. At the same time, Su Ming slowly opened his eyes. When he did so, faint golden light spread out from his pupils, making them look sharp and threatening. They were filled with an awe-inspiring air. When Su Ming opened his eyes, the popping sounds became even stronger. The chapped skin fell off piece by piece to eventually reveal a faintly golden skin. In fact, once all the chapped skin fell off, the faint golden light spreading out from Su Ming's body enveloped his entire person, making him somewhat hazy. Su Ming sucked in a deep breath. The galaxy around him immediately started trembling, and a sea of fire appeared around the meteor. The sea of flames burned with a loud whistle and spread out with a loud bang. In the blink of an eye, it covered a circular area of 50,000 feet. The presence of World Plane Realm erupted within those 50,000 feet. This time, Su Ming did not borrow the rune's power, but with his physical body alone he had executed the power of World Planes. World Planes. Su Ming stood up on the meteor. Loud banging sounds came from his body. As Su Ming clenched his fist, the sea of flames of 50,000 feet instantly fell backwards. At the moment he clenched his fist, it was as if the sea of flames within those 50,000 feet was absorbed and gathered onto his palm. This is my own power. My physical body has become that of a paragon. Su Ming closed his eyes. After a long while, when he opened them again, his lips curled up into a smile. However, that smile was a little bitter and sad. If he'd had this sort of power when he'd been in the land of berserkers, then everything would be different now. Chapter 807. Shutting down Divinity Incarceration Rune. You have to search for another clone soon. It does not matter whether it is from the 4 great true worlds or the 5th true world. There might not be many whose physical bodies can become those of paragons, but it isn't rare either. More accurately speaking, no one talks about anyone's physical bodies having reached the level of world paragons. In truth, you have not become a lord of world planes. It's only that your physical body can now resist the divine abilities from the initial stage of world plane realms without being injured. You can also use the power of world planes to make your chi be as powerful as the divine abilities of world paragons. You have to continue to use the art of swallowing hollow shadows whole to devour other people's power of world planes. In fact, once you become slightly stronger, you can devour the essence of a world from a planet. But this isn't a long-term plan. A real world paragon is someone who can obtain the acknowledgement of an essence of the world. When he obtains the acknowledgement from 10,000 worlds, a wisp of plain Kalpa's essence would be born within him. This is the true Great Tao. Only when your cultivation base also reaches the level of world paragons will you be able to head towards this great path. Your physical body is what will help you to walk even further down this road. When your cultivation base is also refined to the state of a world paragon, then with the aid of your powerful physical body, you will be truly strong. It can be said that at that time, your foundation would become solid. As you accumulate your strength and let this power explode forth, you can become an incredibly strong warrior within whatever realm you reach. The Duke of Crimson Flame said in a low voice as he looked at Su Ming. I suggest that you possess a cultivator with great talent as your clone. If you do that, you will not need another identity. You can also speed up your training by using the potential of the person you possessed. Abyss builders rely on their clones to train and grow stronger. The number of clones that each Abyss builder can form is different. When the day comes that you reach the limit for the number of clones you can create and find your real body, you will be able to execute one of the strongest divine abilities among Abyss builders, the change of Abyss builders. With this art, all of your clones will fuse with your real body, and you will be able to bring forth your strongest combat prowess. In my memories, there weren't many who could execute the change of Abyss builders among the Abyss builders in the 5th true world, and there were also distinctions of strength between each caster. I'm not entirely certain of the details, since I'm not of their race. But I've heard of a rumor that the sovereign of the fifth true world, who is also your people's ancestor, could fight against one of the four true progenitors from the four great true worlds that could already control fate, lives, and deaths and not be at a disadvantage once he gathered all his clones together and executed the change of abyss builders. That was before he reached the realm where he could control fate, lives, and deaths. When our sovereign reached that realm himself, he executed the change of abyss builders once again and could win against the four great true progenitors alone while fighting against all of them. When the Duke of Crimson Flame said those words, his tone was full of excitement. As a person of the fifth true world, he was clearly proud of the glory that his land had had in the past. Su Ming looked at his own fist. As he slowly relaxed his fingers, he listened to the Duke of Crimson Flame's excited voice and cast his gaze into the distant galaxy. The powerful sovereign of the fifth true world and the ancestor of the abyss builders couldn't protect his own home as well, so his people were nearly wiped out. Could there be a realm that surpasses the state of controlling fate, lives, and deaths in this vast galaxy and can determine the lives of all the living? Can that power kill those who can control fate, lives, and deaths? Su Ming looked at the galaxy, and for some unknown reason, this thought appeared in his head. Compared to those people, I am still as weak as an ant. Su Ming fell silent. After a moment, he asked in a low voice, "How many clones did my ancestor have?" "He had 6 great clones, and all of them were incredibly powerful," the Duke of Crimson Flame immediately answered. Su Ming did not speak anymore. He looked at the galaxy, and a powerful light gradually began to shine in his eyes. An invisible, mighty pressure spread out from his body. The ripples coming from it meant that Su Ming's heart was trembling violently at that moment. Even my powerful ancestor could not protect his people and his home, and there is a possibility that he has already died. The fifth true world has been reduced to a broken world, and countless of its people are suppressed and sealed. Just what reason could have caused the four great true worlds to work together and fight against the fifth true world? What reason could have to push them to completely destroy the fifth true world? And by the looks of it, their main targets were the abyss builders. I've already had enough of being fate's puppet. Di Qian controlled me in the past, that Wolf from Yin Death region is controlling me now, and perhaps in the future, there will be other people who will control my fate until I die. I don't want to be controlled anymore. I want to control my own fate. I want my will to not be affected by anything. I want the people I want to protect to forever be safe. I want to be strong. I have to become powerful. Only by making myself stronger endlessly and surpassing the level of my ancestor can I truly protect the people and the home I want kept safe. Only then will I be able to be myself. The brilliant light in Su Ming's eyes grew even brighter. Only after a long while did it gradually disappear, hidden in the depths of his heart, having become his desire. Let's go. We'll head to Black Ink Planet. Su Ming averted his gaze from the galaxy above his head and sat down cross-legged. The meteor hummed and charged towards the depths of the galaxy. Several days later, Su Ming suddenly opened his eyes from his meditation. The Duke of Crimson Flame's voice also reached his mind at that moment. "Su Ming, there is someone who is coming towards us from up ahead. Judging by the looks of it, he doesn't know where we are, but is just heading our way by pure coincidence." Su Ming did not speak. He cast a glance at the galaxy above him and closed his eyes once again. He was not a person who loved killing, and his personality was that if no one provoked him, he would not attack. However, if someone provoked him, then his callous personality would turn him into a cold-hearted person. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, a long arc charged forward. It closed in on the meteor where Su Ming was within an instant but did not stop. Instead, that long arc moved straight past his side. Within that long arc was a young man with long hair. He was dressed in a long purple robe. There was a picture of a dragon sewn on his robe with golden threads. That picture of the dragon looked like a word, Jiao. Su Ming ignored that person. He continued meditating with his eyes closed, but soon, an incredibly arrogant divine sense swept past the area. Su Ming frowned, and the young man that was about to pass by the meteor swarm suddenly let out a light gasp and turned back. When he was moving at the same speed as the meteor, he looked towards Su Ming. When he looked over, confusion appeared on his face. He then shook his head and swiftly left. He turned into a long arc and left the meteor's side to charge into the distance. There was a hidden hint of excitement and wariness in his eyes. As he charged forward, he immediately brought out a jade slip. I actually ran into him. He recognized you, and is about to crush a voice-transferring jade slip so that others will know where you are. The Duke of Crimson Flame's voice traveled into Su Ming's ears as he sat on the meteor. I know. Su Ming opened his eyes. If the person had pretended to not recognize him but did not crush the jade slip, then Su Ming would have let it be, but since the other had decided to send word, it meant that he was seeking death. Earthen script, become a grave. When Su Ming spoke lightly, his body faded away and he disappeared without a trace. In the distance, at the instant the young man in purple robes was about to crush the jade slip, a sudden powerful sense of danger rose in his heart. His expression changed, and just as he was about to throw caution to the wind and crush that jade slip, bang! A ball of muddled fog appeared around him. That fog instantly froze up, burying the young man within in itself. If anyone saw it from the above, they would clearly see that a tumulus that looked like earth had appeared on the spot where the young man was. There were torn pieces of skin manifesting on that tumulus, and they gathered together to form a tombstone. The buried young man's face was being drawn swiftly on that tombstone. Die, a flat voice stated, echoing in the galaxy. Su Ming's body reappeared on the meteor. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, another month went by. A bloody presence surrounded a certain meteor, and it was covered in specks of blood. During the past half a month, Su Ming had run into 4 pursuers. The first time, there had been 2 people. The second time, there were 3 people. The third time, there were 6 people. The fourth time, there were 10 people. Besides attacking the first 2 times, Su Ming avoided the other 2 battles. As he continuously pressed towards Black Ink Planet, he sensed an increasingly greater threat from the illusory projection. He noticed that there were more glowing spots that were heading towards him from all directions. Duke of Crimson Flame, someone should have broken your art that distorts time and space for 7 days, Su Ming stated calmly. The Duke of Crimson Flame fell silent. He could also vaguely guess this, or else he could not explain why the number of people chasing after their lives kept increasing during the past month. If I was someone of the 4 great true worlds, then the first step I would do is to break the 7 days art. The second step would be, since they can activate this rune, then it is only natural that they can shut it down as well. Since the enemy is using the rune, I would shut it down and make it so that the enemy cannot continue using it. Su Ming sat on the meteor and looked at the faint ripples on the projection before him. An increasing amount of glowing spots flashed about, as if the rune was no longer stable. He then said in a cold voice, after that, when the 7 days art was broken and the rune was shut down, the true guards from the 4 great true worlds will appear en masse, and if I were the true guards, I would use the shortest amount of time possible to lock down the area and destroy the target. Right when Su Ming finished saying these words, the projection before him started shining even more brilliantly, then became dark and disappeared right away. But not a single hint of surprise could be seen on Su Ming's face. Damn it! Damn you all, you despicable rascals! The bald crane was momentarily stunned before it immediately roared in rage. Little boy Su. It's over. It's all because of that mouth of yours. You jinxed it. Everything good you say never happens, and everything bad you say always happens. I can't sense that divinity incarceration rune anymore. It's been shut down. Damn it all, these people cut off my path to riches. How despicable. I'll remember this. I'll remember it. I'm a crane that holds grudges. Sooner or later, I'll duke it out against all of you. The bald crane was filled with deep hatred and resentment. It was not experiencing heartache because of the rune, but because after the rune was shut down, it could no longer extort Su Ming. It could no longer make deals with him. After all, when that rune was around, it was practically a golden goose. Every single time Su Ming used it, he had to pay with crystals. 1,000 world stones, a cultivation planet that has been modified and possesses a complete essence of a world. This will no longer tempt cultivators alone, but entire families. Su Ming looked at the disappeared projection, and killing intent appeared in his eyes. He remembered the word Jiao that was sewn on the purple robes on that young man whom he had killed a few days ago. Due to the unique conditions in the barren lands of divine essence, the criminals from the four great true worlds live and give birth to their offspring here. Over the years, forces of power that are formed from familial connections will naturally appear. To these families, the temptation of a cultivation planet that has been modified will surpass a world stone. The four great true worlds and the pursuers, since all of you insist on killing me, then don't blame me for stepping up and playing big. A cold smirk appeared on Su Ming's lips, and a freezing glare shone in his eyes as he stood up. Bald Crane, do you want to take revenge on the four great true worlds? Su Ming asked as he looked at the bird. The bald crane was livid with rage and its heart was aching at that moment. When it heard Su Ming's question, it immediately nodded fiercely, gnashing its teeth in hatred. Chapter 808. Jiao family's progenitor. I'm completely surrounded from all fronts. It doesn't matter whether it's these pursuers or the true guards from the four great true worlds, all of them want to kill me. Su Ming leaped up from one of the meteors. Crimson threads appeared out of thin air and surrounded him before they turned into a coffin that instantly charged into the distance. Su Ming put the bald crane away, and the Duke of Crimson Flame turned into a totem on the coffin. All of them swiftly left into the distance. The crimson coffin traveled incredibly quickly, but right at the instant it left, the galaxy they were in suddenly let out a loud bang, and deep blue ripples suddenly appeared, rapidly spreading out. In the blink of an eye, they covered a circular area of 100,000 feet and caught up to the crimson coffin that was Su Ming. The deep blue ripples turned into fog, leaving the area in a hazy state. At the same time, at the edge of the 100,000 feet area, Su Ming's crimson coffin looked like it had sunk into mud in a river, and his speed was reduced by half. Peak of the middle stage of World Plane Realm. He only has one step left before he moves into the later stage. What speed? You aren't his opponent. The gap between your strengths is too great. If it wasn't because there isn't enough power of world planes in the barren lands of divine essence, this sort of powerful warrior would have arrived at the later stage of World Plane Realm by now. No matter where he goes, he will be considered the overlord of that area. The Duke of Crimson Flames swiftly told Su Ming. There was an anxious tone to his voice. Almost at the same time he spoke up, a cold harumph echoed from the deep blue fog within that area of 100,000 feet. That harumph alone caused the galaxy to rumble and cracks to appear. It also caused the red coffin to tremble so much that it shattered. Bang! The coffin shattered, and its pieces fell backwards to reveal Su Ming, who was charging forward. Those shards swiftly gathered together into a long red spear, and with a flash, it disappeared into Su Ming's body. Blood trickled out of the corners of Su Ming's mouth. That invisible strike just now had not only shattered the coffin, but also caused a great force to appear all around and within him. As that force exploded along with the coffin, it wounded Su Ming. It was as if that cold harumph could form some sort of resonance so that it would be difficult for one to defend themselves, and the body was instantly heavily wounded. Su Ming could sense clearly that if his physical body had not become like that of a world paragon, in other words much stronger than before, then he would have crumbled into pieces from that cold harumph, just like the coffin. The stranger was powerful. His strength surpassed that of Jing Nanzi and the 9 true guards Su Ming had met in Heavenly Treasure Planet. This was the strongest person Su Ming had run into during his escape. I've run into some people in the middle stage of World Plane Realm, but I've never met anyone who could gravely wound me with just one harumph. Is this the power of those who have reached the pinnacle of the middle stage of World Plane Realm? They can completely suppress all the cultivators who are below World Plane Realm, and all the cultivators in Heaven, Earth, and Man Cultivation Realm have absolutely no chance of fighting back. It's like the difference between a baby and a grown man. Even if it's those who have reached World Plane Realm, those who are just in the initial stage will find themselves with a slim chance of survival even if they were fleeing, much less fighting against him. Su Ming did not even have time to wipe away the blood at the corners of his mouth. He was not too surprised by this person's appearance, though. He had already made a guess that the moment the divinity incarceration rune disappeared, the true guards and other pursuers would appear right away. It did not matter who came. There was no difference. Besides, after the barren lands of divine essence experienced those things before, the person who appeared to kill Su Ming was much stronger. If the divinity incarceration rune was still around, perhaps I could use the power of the rune to fight against this person for a while. But now, I'm not his opponent. A glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He lifted his right hand and stomped on space. Immediately, faint golden ripples appeared and spread out with a bang. They covered a circular area of 50,000 feet in the span of a breath, and the presence of World Plane Realm erupted from his entire body. You are just a candle flame. How dare you try to outshine a moon? When the cold voice echoed in space, the fog that spread out to 100,000 feet gathered together into a face that was 100,000 feet in size. The face was ancient and belonged to an old man, and it took up the entirety of the deep blue fog. From the distance, that face that spread across the galaxy was an incredibly terrifying sight, and this was the power of those who had reached the pinnacle of the middle stage of World Plane Realm. His voice rumbled in the galaxy, while Su Ming was swiftly rushing away from the spot near the center of the face's brows. If I kill you, then my family will be able to possess a cultivation planet with an essence of a world. I, Zhao Qiangang, might not be willing to be used by the 4 great true worlds, but for the sake of my family, I can only attack you. If you want to blame someone for your death, then blame yourself for not being strong enough. At the instant that rumbling voice shook the galaxy, a sparkle appeared in the eyes of that gigantic face of 100,000 feet. I'm impressed that you're wanted by the 4 great true worlds. I'll let you die under my second strongest divine ability. Then, at least, you will be able to die a worthy death. 3. The moment Zhao Qiangang said these words, Su Ming's heart trembled, and the area 50,000 feet away from him began shattering. Let me perform a shift. You're not his opponent. If we don't shift, you'll definitely die. The Duke of Crimson Flame's anxious voice traveled into Su Ming's mind. Wait a little longer. I want to see just how great is the disparity between me and a person who has reached the peak of the middle stage in World Plane Realm. Su Ming's eyes sparkled, and he immediately delivered these words in his heart to the Duke. Are you mad? I can tell you this, the difference between the two of you is like heaven and earth. Before him, you are just an ant. Not only is this person a world paragon in the pinnacle of the middle stage in World Plane Realm, judging by his words, he is also the progenitor of a family. This kind of person is definitely someone with a great reputation and fame. Even the ordinary true guards from the 4 great true worlds might not want to provoke him. The Duke of Crimson Flame roared in anger. For the first time, he did not listen to Su Ming's words and was ready to shift to leave the place with Su Ming. The faint golden area began shattering 50,000 feet away from Su Ming. In the blink of an eye, only several thousands of feet were left. The other parts had been torn to pieces in a bizarre manner when Zhao Qiangang had said that one word. Even if there is the distance of heaven and earth between us, even if I am an ant, I will still have the courage to glare at the universe. Even if I am an ant, I cannot flee because I cannot fight back. As long as the difference isn't so great that he can kill me in an instant, then I will definitely attack. Even if I am weak, I must draw my sword. Even if I am not his opponent, I cannot surrender. If I don't fight, my thoughts will not be clear. If I don't fight, I will not reach my goals. If I don't fight, then with what spirit should I reach Solar Kalpa Realm? The presence of World Plane, which was that faint golden light that was previously thousands of feet away, had come to only several hundreds of feet. However, Su Ming's voice reverberated in the Duke of Crimson Flame's heart. It made him stop, just as he was about to perform a shift. It was as if this was the first time he came to know Su Ming. Those words echoed in the Duke of Crimson Flame's heart, and every single word and sentence possessed a determination that could cause hearts to tremble. If I don't fight, then with what spirit should I reach Solar Kalpa Realm? Su Ming roared towards the sky, and a 10,000 feet illusion manifested behind him. That was his statue of the God of Berserkers. God of Berserkers' 3 barren arts of heaven, earth, and man barrenness. A brilliant light shone in Su Ming's eyes. He swung his arm, and the statue of the God of Berserkers behind him immediately lifted its hands. Once it pushed them together in the shape of a cross, it pulled its hands apart, with both of them heading towards the galaxy up above. Earth barrenness. The faint golden area that was only hundreds of feet away from Su Ming shattered completely at that moment. At that moment, the statue behind Su Ming lifted its right leg and stomped fiercely downwards. Heaven barrenness! Bang! During that instant, Su Ming's statue of the god of berserkers shone with an endless faint golden light. Once it covered its body, the statue's right leg completed its act of stomping on the ground, and its body swelled up once more. In the span of a breath, it grew to several hundreds of thousands of feet, and its body fell face forward. With his current level of cultivation and the addition of his power of world planes, Su Ming cast the god of berserkers art. Man barrenness was to worship the heavens. Earth barrenness was to step on nothingness. Heaven barrenness was to collapse the sky and destroy the land. The statue's body was the sky. At that moment, when its body fell, a loud bang surged into the sky, and this was the sky's collapse. Boom! 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 A violent sound reverberated in all directions in the galaxy. At the instant Su Ming's statue of the god of berserkers fell, Zhao Qiangang's cold voice spoke up again. Flowers. The booming sounds from the statue disappeared. It was as if there was a power that could destroy the sky right as it collapsed down to the earth, forcing the sky to fall apart before it even fell. The statue crumbled, and Su Ming coughed up blood. As he was forced back, he threw his head back and roared. He lifted his hands and began forming seals before he flung his arms backwards. 7 shadows immediately appeared behind him. Those 7 shadows were dressed in long black robes. The faces of those people could not be seen clearly. However, there was an incredibly thick aura of death that swiftly spread through the galaxy. 7 Abyssal Yin Death Seal. Earthen script, become a grave. At the same time those shadows in black robes bowed simultaneously towards the galaxy, Su Ming's body instantly became indistinct. A lone grave appeared, and Zhao Qiangang's face was being swiftly drawn out on the tombstone. Destroy, came Zhao Qiangang's voice from the face that was 100,000 feet big. Bang! The 7 abyssal shadows shattered completely. The lone grave that was Su Ming also crumbled apart instantaneously. The tombstone on it could not even manage to draw out Zhao Qiangang's face. Rumbling sounds came from Su Ming's entire body. His flesh and blood shattered inch by inch, and as he coughed up blood, his body was gravely wounded. However, there was no regret in his eyes. Only extreme brightness could be found. He lost. This was a fight he was bound to lose, but he fought. He dared to fight. He had the courage to still attack and draw his sword even though he knew he would definitely lose. This was a form of determination. It was the most important requirement for a powerful warrior, and the value of this requirement even surpassed potential and serendipities. Duke of Crimson Flame, shift. Let's go. Su Ming licked the blood at the corners of his lips and sent these words to the Duke. The world. These were the 2 final words Zhao Qiangang said. It also marked the completion for his divine ability. 3 flowers, destroy the world. Right at the instant he finished saying these words, the Duke of Crimson Flame's body appeared next Su Ming, who was at that moment falling back while blood gushed out from his entire body. The bald Duke of Crimson Flame swung his arm. While loud booming sounds were surging into space and ripples viciously spreading out, the totem of a flying dragon manifested in space. As those booms continued resounding, that totem shattered. However, by then, the Duke of Crimson Flame had already used the power of his life and shifted. Almost the instant he did so, the area in that part of the galaxy collapsed, stirring up booming sounds that spread in all directions. When it started gradually calming down, the face that was 100,000 feet vanished, and an old man in purple robes appeared in the galaxy. The old man had a dark expression on his face. He looked at the spot from which the Duke of Crimson Flame had taken Su Ming and vanished. He knew that he was definitely going to lose, but he still had the courage to fight against me. This child is a determined person, and also a madman. But no matter what, fighting against a powerful person is the best way for your level of cultivation to rise quickly, and also the best way to obtain an epiphany. The difference of power between the 2 of us would be like the difference between me and those in the later stage of World Plane Realm. If I ran into a person like that, would I dare to fight against them? Zhao Qiangang fell silent. If he doesn't die in 10,000 years, he will definitely become a big problem. Chapter 809, Revenge Zhao Family's Progenitor. It's Zhao Qiangang from the Zhao family, which is one of the three big families in Western Ring Nebula. It is rumored that this person has reached the pinnacle of the middle stage of World Plane Realm 2000 years ago. He is only a step away from reaching the later stage of World Plane Realm. HMH, the distance of that one step is 10,000 li's. World paragons don't really have that much difference between each other in the beginning, and there is not much difference in power between those in the initial stage of World Plane Realm and those in Heaven Cultivation Realm. In fact, there are several powerful cultivators in Heaven Cultivation Realm who could fight toe-to-toe against those in the initial stage of World Plane Realm if they had some unique methods and enchanted treasures. However, once one's level of cultivation reaches the middle stage of World Plane Realm, their combat prowess will increase exponentially. A powerful warrior in the middle stage of World Plane Realm can easily kill a person in the initial stage of World Plane Realm. Even if those in Heaven Cultivation Realm have extremely powerful enchanted treasures and they can kill those in the initial stage of World Plane Realm, in the face of those in the middle stage, they cannot hope to compete. That's right. I understand this logic as well. Besides, there are differences among those in the middle stage of World Plane Realm as well. Those in the peak of the middle stage can suppress the others in the middle stage with ease, or else Zhao Qiangang wouldn't have been able to make that Zhao family of his become so distinguished with his own hands. Whooshing sounds mixed with howls were traveling swiftly from all directions before they turned into several dozens of people who were scattered around the area where Su Ming and Zhao family's progenitor had fought against each other. These people had all come after Mo Su's life due to the waves of power that came from this place. Once they rushed to the area, they immediately saw Zhao family's progenitor looking into the distance in silence, but they did not see Mo Su. It's a pity that Zhao family's progenitor was ahead of us. That Mo Su has probably been killed or captured already. A cultivation planet with a complete essence of a world. Zhao family will become even stronger in the future. In fact, there's even a possibility that Zhao family's progenitor will be able to take that step forward and become a monster in the later stage of World Plane Realm. However, he is still only at the peak of the middle stage in World Plane Realm. If he ran into those in the later stage, even those who had just reached it, he would be completely suppressed. Unless he had a method to escape, he would definitely die. It's a pity that there are only 3 monsters in the later stage of World Plane Realm in Western Ring Nebula. Besides Li family's progenitor, who is in isolation all year around and doesn't ever come out, the other 2 are also training somewhere in hiding. It's been a long time since they showed themselves. An increasing number of people arrived to the area. After a moment, there were nearly 100 people there. The eyes of those people in the area shone brilliantly. Once they swept their gazes past Zhao Qiangang's body, they began sending their thoughts to each other to discuss the matter among themselves. After a moment, a layer of ripples spread out from the galaxy in the distance. 9 huge ancient bronze swords appeared slowly, and a powerful and mighty pressure spread out, causing the people in the area to swiftly retreat. As they did so, the 9 big swords gradually stopped moving. Zhao family's progenitor, how did the battle go? A person walked out of the sword positioned right in front of the other swords. That person was dressed in armor, and he was the old man who had escaped after he fought against Su Ming in Heavenly Treasure Planet. The old man's level of cultivation was also in the middle stage of World Plane Realm, but based on his tone, it could be heard that he was rather courteous towards the old man from the Zhao family. He did not have that high and mighty attitude he showed when talking to other people in sinful barren lands. After all, while the situation they found themselves in and their positions were important, the thing that truly mattered to cultivators were the levels of cultivation. Those who were weaker would respect those who were stronger. This was the foundation that formed the system of the universe no matter the era and no matter what sort of world the people were in. If the true guard did not execute the power from the ancient bronze swords and Zhao family's progenitor went berserk, he could kill almost all of those on the swords. This sort of power was the source for the respect shown him. He escaped. Zhao Qiangang sighed. He was the person with the highest level of cultivation among those who went after Su Ming's life. His hate towards the 4 great true worlds ran incredibly deep due to his status and his level of cultivation, but as time passed and his family grew, he gradually hid that hate in his heart. For his family, he would squash down his enmity towards the 4 great true worlds and listen to their orders temporarily to chase after Su Ming. The moment he finished speaking, The people around him immediately burst into an uproar. Almost every single person was shocked by Zhao Qiangang's words, because they knew full well the significance behind the act of being able to escape from the hands of Zhao family's progenitor. Zhao Qiangang was not willing to say much. He swung his arm, and an illusion immediately appeared before him. There were endless pictures that shone within that illusion, and they showed his battle against Su Ming. The entire process from start to finish was shown before the group. Then, without a single word, Zhao family's progenitor turned around and left. He had been waiting in this place because he had wanted to explain himself to the forces of power from the 4 great true worlds keeping a lookout over this place. Once he did that, he was unwilling to continue lingering around the place. As the people in the region watched the pictures in the illusion attentively, a layer of ripples appeared out of the blue in a spot that was very far away from where the battle was held in the galaxy. As it spread out, Su Ming walked out from space with a single step. At the instant he walked out, he coughed up blood. Was it worth it? You attacked despite knowing that you would definitely lose, and you were gravely injured in return. Was it worth it? The Duke of Crimson Flame manifested beside Su Ming, and as he looked at him, there was a slightly complicated look on his face. It was. Su Ming wiped away the blood with brightly shining eyes. To me, the path of cultivation is filled with mountains. There are plenty of towering mountains ahead of me, and once I move over one mountain, it will mean that my level of cultivation has increased by a level. My enemies are these mountains. I can have my path blocked by these mountains, and I don't mind running into a mountain that I'll never be able to cross in my life. But if I run into this sort of mountain and do not even have the courage to try climbing it simply because the mountain is too tall, then I will start to feel that I am an insignificant ant. Because of that, I will no longer be able to take even a single step forward. By then, what will I even be practicing cultivation for? Su Ming said as he looked at the Duke of Crimson Flame. His calm words were filled with determination that made the other's heart tremble. After some time, the Duke of Crimson Flame suddenly asked, "If I wasn't by your side and you couldn't shift, what would you have done?" "I would still have done the same thing," Su Ming answered firmly, without any hesitation. "Since I would have definitely died there, then between not resisting but waiting for death with my eyes closed and fighting to the death in a grand battle, I would naturally choose the latter." A resolute expression appeared on Su Ming's face. His voice might not be loud, but when it reached the Duke of Crimson Flame's ears, it silenced him. 10 breaths later, the Duke of Crimson Flame asked, "What will you do next?" "I've already used up one of my 2 shifts. The last one is for when you get close to Black Ink Planet so I can get you straight in." Su Ming brought out some medicinal cores. Once he swallowed them, a freezing glare appeared in his eyes, along with a hint of madness. He coldly said, "Since they intend to make my life miserable, then I will also make theirs a living hell." 3 days later, a shocking bang came from the cultivation planet closest to the spot to where Su Ming had shifted. As the loud booms reverberated in the air, roars from ferocious beasts rang in the air. The presences of those ferocious beasts were incredibly powerful, and there were even some who flew out of the cultivation planet to roar at the galaxy. In fact, once the seals on these ferocious beasts were broken and they tasted freedom, an excited roar came from the depths of the planet before echoing faintly in the air. There was madness and hatred contained in that roar, and it came from the mighty cultivator of the alien race that was sealed in this planet. As the ferocious beast seals were broken, the same sight as the one in Crimson Flame Planet was reenacted. The sealing rune collapsed, giving the mighty cultivator a chance to break free. As for whether he would manage to escape in the end would depend entirely on him. 7 days later, the same booming sounds rang in another cultivation planet that was close by. At the same time they shook the galaxy, numerous roars from various ferocious beasts traveled into all directions. Several days later, a drastic change appeared on the 3rd cultivation planet. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 2 months went by. During this time, a change that caused the forces of power from the 4 great true worlds keeping a lookout over the place to be ignited with rage appeared in more than 10 cultivation planets. An endless amount of ferocious beasts appeared in the galaxy, for the seals within cultivation planets were torn apart. The members of the alien races that were sealed also began showing signs that they were about to escape. Based on how things were going, Several years later, a force from the alien races that could overturn everything would burst forth in Western Ring Nebula. This was Su Ming's madness, and it was also the big gift he prepared for the forces of power from the 4 great true worlds suppressing the barren lands. He was using this act to take revenge against them for going after his life. The bald crane's excitement was even greater than Su Ming's. Its anger and hatred towards the 4 great true worlds closing down the divinity incarceration rune could be said to burn the skies. It completely approved of Su Ming's plan, and it did not even need him to pay any crystals but helped on its own accord, which was a rare sight to be seen. Bang! Another bang rang out in another cultivation planet. A large portion of the sealing rune on it shattered, and ferocious beasts flew out. As they roared in the galaxy, the crimson coffin swiftly flew up and headed into the distance. The coffin might have shattered because of Zhao family's progenitor in the past, but its core was not damaged, which was why it could still turn into a coffin and fly in the galaxy. Damn you all! Curse you all! How dare you people from the true worlds provoke me? I'll fight it out against all of you. I'll break your seals. Break all of them. Break them. I'll break all of your seals. I'll let you know the consequences of provoking your Grandpa Crane, you crooks from the 4 great true worlds. Heh, I'm not that easy to bully. In the past, Lu Ya was forced to his wit's end by yours truly. 4 great true progenitors, what are you? You're still just puny little birds before me. Am I that powerful? The bald crane's excited cries gradually faded away as the coffin left into the distance. Oi! Kill him. Kill that person called Mo Su. I don't care how he came to the barren lands of divine essence, but that's the last straw, he must die. An enraged voice shouted out from the place where true sacred Yin world was stationed in the galaxy among the other forces of power from the 4 great true worlds. It would have been fine if he had just gone to the other galaxies, but he broke the seals in over 13 cultivation planets within the region that true sacred Yin world monitors. He is provoking us. This is revenge for us placing a bounty on his head. The main camp is already displeased and has sent a sealed order. If we cannot solve this problem within a month, then the true guards in true sacred Yin world will have to pay the price for this matter. The Kalpa Lord has already sent his orders. He will reward those who kill Mo Su with a treasure. This time, all the true guards from true sacred Yin world are to attack, and we are allowed to use the power of our origin essence to shift. The 2 world elders in Lunar Kalpa realm will also attack. We must resolve this within a month. Huge ancient bronze swords shot through the great space sealing rune from the galaxy where true sacred Yin world was stationed and appeared in Western Ring Nebula. Anyone who swept their gazes across them would find that no end to them could be seen. Each of the huge swords were 100,000 feet long, and there were hundreds of them. The galaxy rumbled. The notice of an additional reward was sent through the entire Western Ring Nebula, stirring up the attention and greed of cultivators in the other galaxies, including the true guards from the other true worlds. Those who kill Mo Su will not only receive the rewards originally offered, but also gain an additional reward from true sacred Yin world, a Kalpa treasure that possessed the presence of solar Kalpa realm. Lu Ya, the person who was the original owner of the gourd when the bald crane had its true form. Chapter 8:10. The crowd is mobilized Kalpa treasure. This sort of treasure was rare even among the 4 great true worlds. Most of them were controlled by the old monsters who possessed the power of plain Kalpa, and the value of such a treasure was difficult to describe with words. It could be said that to the powerful warriors in Lunar Kalpa realm, this sort of treasure was enough to fight each other to the death for it. Treasures the level of Kalpa treasures were rarely created by people. Most of them were naturally born in this vast universe. They were existences that were like the treasures of the world. That was why each Kalpa treasure was different, and the might of their divine abilities also had distinctions in strength. However, even the weakest Kalpa treasure was enough to make 2 old monsters in Lunar Kalpa realm to have great differences in power. Someone in Lunar Kalpa realm who did not have any Kalpa treasure in hand could not hope to win against someone at the same level with one. Only those in Lunar Kalpa realm who possessed a Kalpa treasure could be known as being half a step away from Solar Kalpa realm. Treasures of this level could stir up uproars even in the worlds outside, and it was much more so in the barren lands of divine essence. This was enough to even cause a calamity here. This kind of reward could tempt the old monsters in lunar Kalpa realm who seldom ventured out in the barren lands of divine essence, could make the powerful warriors in the later stage of world plane realm go crazy for them, and even true guards would descend into madness for such a treasure. If they killed Mosu, they would be able to obtain that Kalpa treasure. The lore in this additional reward surpassed the world stones and the cultivation planet. It became the brightest light within the entire Western Ring Nebula, and countless people went wild for it. The other 3 galaxies were also excited because of this news. All those who believed they had a chance put aside whatever they were doing and walked out of their isolation grounds to rush towards Western Ring Nebula at full speed. There was a region in there that was filled with dust. Bright light would occasionally shine in that place, but not a single hint of sound could be heard. From the distance, it looked like a wasteland. An endless amount of shattered stones floated in the air. Not long after, a long arc charged towards the place from the distance and closed in after a moment. That long arc turned into an old man dressed in a long dark blue robe. His head was filled with white, but his eyes were bright. The presence of world plane realm spread out from his body, showing that he was a middle-stage world paragon. He stopped on one of the barren shattered stone, wrapped his fist in his palm, and bowed deeply. "Master, your disciple would like to meet you." The old man's voice was loud. Once it traveled through the area, the shattered stones before him suddenly moved and were sucked together to form a gigantic face consisting of an innumerable amount of shattered stones. It could be vaguely seen that this face belonged to a middle-aged man filled with a dignified air. His shut eyes gradually opened. "What is it?" A voice that sounded like thunderous booms spread out through the area and stirred up layers of ripples, because of which the galaxy trembled and all the power of law within the area vanished instantly. "Master, the 4 great true worlds have offered a Kalpa treasure as the bounty for one person." The old man lowered his head. His expression was incredibly respectful. He knew clearly just how powerful his master was. He was one of the 3 strongest people in the entire Western Ring Nebula, which was why even though he had reached the middle stage of world plane realm, he was still apprehensive when he faced his master. "Kalpa treasure." The eyes on the face formed by shattered stones suddenly shone, and brilliant light appeared within them. At the same time, in a cultivation planet that looked quite ordinary within Western Ring Nebula was an old man who was dressed in rags and looked as pathetic as a beggar. He was lying sprawled in a forest whose plants had almost all withered. There were a few cultivators by his side. The strongest among these was only at Earth cultivation realm, and there were even some of them who were only at man cultivation realm. At that moment, they were staring cautiously at a ferocious beast with the form of a tiger about thousands of feet away from them. Based on the ferocious beast's presence, it was equivalent to those at the peak of Earth cultivation realm. On the ground behind it was a 3-colored flower in blossom, and faint wisps of fragrance were spreading out from it. The creature continuously investigated the area around it with low roars and a grim face. Yet at that moment, when the petals from that 3-colored flower fell behind it, sharp whistling sounds came from all directions. About 40-something cultivators rushed out from the forest and charged towards the tiger. The old man was among them. He was also the one making the most noise. "Kill it. That little BTCH. Kill that tiger and the treasure will be ours." The old man's eyes shone, and he rushed out with a growl. The tiger let out a furious roar, and a chaotic battle stirred up, but before long, the old man let out a shrill scream of pain. A deep claw mark appeared on his body, and it looked as if his organs were about to be clawed out as well. When he fell to the ground, he did not forget to yell out a sentence. "Ah, I'm dead." After a few breaths, the old man on the ground opened his eyes and blinked. When he saw that the tiger was roaring in madness continuously as it fought against the people, he crawled forward cautiously, getting closer to the 3-colored flower. He was incredibly quick and seemed to be incredibly familiar with this sort of thing as well, a telling sign that he had done this sort of thing quite a number of times before. But when he was right beside the 3-colored flower, someone in the sky suddenly roared. Just where did that old coot come from? He actually faked death to steal the tricolored flower. He's not from our side. Damn it, don't bother with that tiger. First get rid of that old thief, he's not from our side either. Furious shouts came from the sky. Some of the cultivators even moved past the tiger to charge towards the ground. Right then, The old man seized the three-colored flower with an anxious look on his face and quickly got up. In desperation, he swiftly ran away. The rays of light from enchanted treasures charged towards him from the back. There were even divine abilities chasing after him. The old man's face was filled with excitement. As he ran, he suddenly frowned and brought out a jade slip from his bosom, then checked it while he ran. The moment he did so, a brilliant light suddenly appeared in his eyes, and he stopped. Almost at the instant he stopped, the many enchanted treasures and divine abilities closed in on him altogether. A loud bang reverberated in the air, but the old man continued standing his ground and did not budge an inch. All the enchanted treasures that crashed into him were reduced to ashes. As for the divine abilities, they fell apart completely. Kalpa treasure. The old man narrowed his eyes faintly. Once he put away the jade slip, he placed the three-colored flower into his mouth and bit into it before throwing it on the ground. He then whipped his head around to glare at the cultivators who had been stunned by the sight just now. Tri-colored flower, my foot. I'm one of the 3 great veterans in the later stage of World Plane Realm in Western Ring Nebula. So what if I snatched it from you? Bah! It's not tasty either. The old man spat a few times on the ground before he charged towards the sky and disappeared without a trace. There were 7 cultivation planets that were forcefully moved to a certain region within Western Ring Nebula. These 7 cultivation planets might have already been reduced to wastelands, but once they surrounded that region, the intimidating force they formed shook the entire Western Ring Nebula. All those with a bit of knowledge within them would immediately think of the strongest family within Western Ring Nebula when they saw the 7 cultivation planets. Li family. Li family's progenitor, Yuan Hua, was already in the later stage of World Plane Realm. His might intimidated everyone around, so the Li family gained a great reputation within Western Ring Nebula and were known as the overlords of the galaxy. It was rumored that Li family's progenitor had long hair that was 30 feet in length, and he had refined that hair into an enchanted treasure. The people who had died due to that hair were countless, and the progenitor had built the Li family's influence based on his bloody fame. Besides the Li family, all the others staying in the 7 cultivation planets were all their subordinates. They relied on the Li family's protection and obeyed its orders. There was a range of tall mountains and a lake on the 7th cultivation planet. The water in the lake was incredibly clear, which was an extremely rare sight within the barren lands of divine essence. There was a wooden house beside the lake, and at that moment, there was a middle-aged man standing outside the wooden house. He had his head lowered, and there was zealousness amid the respect on his face. That is how it happened. The 4 great true worlds have brought out a Kalpa treasure as a reward. I understand, you may leave now. After a moment, a gentle voice came from the wooden house. The zealous look on the middle-aged man's face became even greater, and he bowed once and left. Kalpa treasure. This sort of treasure will definitely attract Xianxia's attention, who is always willing to mix around with the small cultivators and doesn't have an ounce of a powerful warrior's mannerisms. Even Xianxia will definitely go wild over this as well. But, Kalpa treasure, huh? If that young Mosu can cause the 4 great true worlds to bring out a Kalpa treasure, then I mustn't underestimate him. The gentle voice slowly spread out before it gradually calmed down. The entire Western Ring Nebula had gone mad for the reward of a Kalpa treasure. Endless long arcs were charging through the galaxy. Everyone was doing their best to search for Mosu. Occasionally, people would cross over the boundaries of Western Ring Nebula from other galaxies to join the chase as well. 3 dragons charged through the galaxy. Behind them were black longships. There were plenty of cultivators in black armor sitting on them. They all had their eyes closed in meditation as they remained still. A young man in a sacred constellation robe stood on the head of the dragon that was situated between the other 2. There was a person in white sitting cross-legged beside him. That person's face was as white as jade, but it held an incredibly cold and indifferent expression. The man looked like a sharp sword that had been drawn out of its scabbard, calm, but with an outstanding presence. Yi Wang, if you become my follower, then I will assist you with all my abilities in destroying Mosu and help you obtain that Kalpa treasure. In the future, I will definitely make your sect the strongest among the immortals. No need. The young man in white was naturally Yi Wang. Once he answered flatly, he closed his eyes, hiding the strange glare that appeared in his eyes when he heard of Mo Su's name. Mo Su. What a familiar name. Could it be you? If you aren't him, then fine, but if it's truly you, then I don't care how you came to this place, but our fight hasn't ended. Over the years, you were the only one who could fight me to a tie, the only opponent who I can remember up to this date. You cannot die, because the only one who has the right to kill you is me. Yi Wang muttered quietly in his heart with his eyes closed. Among the hundreds of ancient bronze swords in Western Ring Nebula was Zi Longshun, who was sitting cross-legged and meditating among the crowd. He looked into the distant galaxy, and Mo Su's name emerged in his head. He was not the only one. Li Hua looked calm by his side, but a figure had also surfaced in his heart. That figure, too, was of a young man named Mo Su. Is it you? Li Hua shook his head. These two people did not notice Ji Yunhai, whose body was trembling lightly as he sat right beside them. The farther they went, the more he could feel a faint call affecting his body in an unseen manner. Mo Su. Su Ming. In the past, you didn't have the capability to detect that I had a wisp of divine sense left in my body. You refined my body into your clone and became my master. Who could have expected that we would now run into each other here? Well then, it's time that we change our roles. A freezing glare shone in Ji Yunhai's eyes.